Are you looking for a few strategies to help you pay off debt? We have 3 of our favorites here that we're going to share with you today. 2 you may have heard of before, but we've got one special one here at the end that I don't want you to miss. Hi, I'm Garrett Ray, financial planner here at the Wealth Guardians and the Ray Financial Group.
And I'm Brice Payne, and you've entered The Vault, the Wealth Guardians video series on all things pertaining to retirement planning. In this episode, we're going to talk about debt. We're going to talk about the debt snowball strategy, the debt avalanche strategy, and the multi-payment per month strategy. You'll see these like and subscribe buttons down below the screen here. If you want to click on those, you'll catch more episodes of The Vault with Doug, Garrett, and myself coming up in the future. And okay, Garrett, let's go ahead and get to it. We're talking about debt today.
Yep.
Let's talk about the first one, the debt snowball strategy. What is that?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, Brice, the debt snowball and the debt avalanche, which we'll get here to in a second, people may have heard this before from our friend Dave Ramsey, and he does great work on this subject. We just wanted to touch base on it as well. But getting into the details around the debt snowball strategy, essentially what this looks at is, let's say we are in a scenario where we've got 3 different loans out, whether it's, we've got credit card debt or we've got a student loan or a car payment, something like that. What we're looking at here in the debt snowball is let's target whatever balances we have between the 3, which one's the lowest? Let's say we have a $5,000 debt, a $3,000 debt, and one that's $1,000. We're going to get really aggressive about paying down that against that $1,000 loan. And so essentially what we're doing is we're paying the minimum possible payments on the 2 higher loans, and then any other cash we have left over at the end of our month after we take into consideration all of our household expenditures, we're going to pay towards that smaller balance. And what is really powerful about this strategy, there's some psychology at play here, but essentially you start to see progress working against the accounts you have debt on progress very, very quickly. And so you get really excited about the fact that you're paying off your debt, you're making progress towards that goal that you've had maybe over the past couple of years, and you're starting to see that balance go smaller and smaller and smaller, which then motivates us to continue the job. So let's say we pay off that lowest debt of $1,000, whatever we were paying per month towards that debt, we're going to roll that straight into the second highest. And then again, same process. If we have a little bit more cash at the end of the month, we're going to apply that as well, and you can start to see how this compounds progress.
Okay. All right. So that's the debt snowball strategy. We're going to bookmark that one. Let's now talk about the debt avalanche strategy. I like how we're staying in the snow terms here.
That's right. So the debt avalanche basically says, okay, we're not going to necessarily worry about the different balances, whether it's a $5,000, $3,000, $1,000. We're very keenly aware of what interest
that's
are we being charged.
Factor
right.
Here.
And so we're going to do the reverse of essentially the snowball. We're going to target whatever loan has the highest interest rate. So let's say we've got one out there, a student loan perhaps of 6% interest. We've got another loan out there, let's say it's an auto loan of 3 to 4%. And then we've got a much smaller debt, let's say something, a loan that we got like a business loan from a bank or something for 2%.
Okay.
We're going to target whichever one has the highest interest rate, and we're going to do the same strategy for the other 2 loans. So for the other 2 loans that aren't the highest interest rate, we're going to pay minimum payments. Everything else that we have left over, we're going to throw towards that loan that has the highest interest rate.
Okay.
Now, I will say, as a warning to everyone, this strategy takes a little bit longer in order to see progress. However, what you're doing is you're fighting against that highest interest rate loan. You're putting money towards that so that you're not having the pain of that interest rate rack up month over month, year over year. And so eventually you actually end up saving more money by following the avalanche strategy than the snowball strategy.
So I think if I'm standing back looking at this, we have to know what kind of person we are and what motivates us. The idea behind paying off debt oftentimes takes discipline.
Yep.
And you have to know what is going to motivate me to get from point A to point B, to actually be disciplined and throw my extra money at this debt. The first one that we talked about, the debt snowball strategy, as you said, requires some psychology to it.
Yep.
And if somebody's got 3 loans out out there or 3 debts out there, and they really want to see only 2 now that they're
Right.
making monthly payments to, the debt snowball strategy can really be effective because we're getting that third one off the books as fast as possible.
That's right.
And we've seen some actual progress to now I only have 2 debts that I'm looking at as opposed to 3.
Right.
Whereas the debt avalanche strategy might be more advantageous for us numbers wise 10 years down the road.
Correct.
Our nest egg size, or we might have thrown more money to debt, less money to debt via the debt avalanche strategy than the debt snowball strategy. But it
right.
might be longer for us to see actual progress on that one.
Exactly. As far as when your loans eventually go away, yes, it's going to take you longer, but you're going to save more money in the long run.
You're doing it in a more disciplined way, but you have to ask yourself, what's going to motivate me to actually make these payments on time? All right. And so the third one that we're talking about here, Garrett, the multi-payment per month strategy. What is this one about?
Yeah, I really like this one, Brice, and it's one that when we explain it, it's going to make sense, but people may not be aware of the specifics of how it works. So multi-payment per month strategy, what are we talking about here? I love this one specifically targeted towards credit card debt because let's face it, a lot of Americans face credit card debt. We may have one credit card or several. The strategy works just the same. And so essentially, most people know if they have credit card debt, they know what their minimum payment per month is. Let's say that's $500 per month in this hypothetical scenario. Well, we're still going to pay that minimum payment per month, but we're not going to just pay $500 one time. Let's face it, that could be a little bit of a sting for some people having to, fork over that $500 that one time. What if we took a strategy of paying $250 the first 2 weeks of the month and then $250 the second 2 weeks of the month? We're still meeting the minimum payment. But what's interesting, and this is what most people don't know, credit card companies actually tabulate the interest on your credit card on its daily average balance. So what are we doing by this? Essentially, if we're paying $250 in the first 2 weeks of the month, we're lowering that daily average over the month. So when they assess the interest at the end of the month, we're actually paying less interest than we otherwise would have if we waited the entirety of the month and then finally paid it off with, that $500 payment, say on the 30th of the month. So we're still within the guidelines of our minimum monthly payment, but we're reducing that interest pain coming to us by way of tabulation from the credit card companies.
Makes perfect sense. And I guess there would be nothing stopping you from doing it just twice a month. You could actually do it more than twice a month, I suppose, as well.
You could do it weekly. You could basically just set up a payment weekly, and you could break it down that way. This has been, a strategy that I've actually given advice to some of my friends on who've had some credit card debt, and they found it easy to manage. And they also like the little bonus that they're actually paying less interest by doing so.
Great. All right. Well, that covers it. We've just now talked about the debt snowball strategy, the debt avalanche strategy, and the multi-payment per month strategy as the 3 main strategies of how to attack debt. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of The Vault. Feel free to hit these like and subscribe buttons down below, again, if you want to catch future episodes of The Vault with Doug, Garrett, and myself. I want to remind you all that financial plans do not create themselves. I'm Brice Payne.
And I'm Garrett Ray.
And this has been The Vault.